Hello, my name is Jimmy and today we're going to compare these two three-row hybrid SUVs. These are probably the two most comparable hybrid SUVs out there. Yes, there is the Lexus RX 450 HL, as well as the new Kia Sorento Hybrid. We actually don't get the Kia Sorento Hybrid in Canada, or at least not yet. And the Lexus, that's $20,000 more than these. So let's take a look at them. This is a 2021 Toyota Highlander Hybrid, and this is a 2021 Ford Explorer Hybrid. So let's dive into the details. Looks are subjective, so I'll let you decide which you like more. But here are some facts. The Explorer has a 7-inch longer wheelbase, 4 inches in its overall length. So yeah, it's a little bit longer. It's also 3 inches wider and 2 inches taller than the Highlander. It's definitely not a massive difference, but its bigger dimensions does equate to a larger interior volume. Let's take a look at the trunk. We have 18.2 cubic feet in the Explorer and 16 within the Highlander. Fold the third row down and we get 47.9 cubic feet in the Explorer and 48.4 in the Highlander. Fold those seats down and we get a maximum of 87.8 cubic feet in the Explorer and 84.3 in the Highlander. So if you're planning to carry a little bit more, take a look at the van, because the new Sienna can easily beat these SUVs. But if you have to choose between these two, the Explorer is definitely a little bit larger. Folding the seats down isn't difficult on either vehicle, but the Explorer does make things a little bit easier thanks to this little button on the side where you can press and automatically raise and lower the third row. You still have to manually fold down the second row, but this button certainly makes things easier than the manual option within the Highlander. Something they both have in common is this little cubby under the rear floor. It's able to house smaller items, but the Explorer is a little bit bigger back here. As both vehicles offer an electronic tailgate, the Explorer definitely is faster, and Ford, they also include this lock button, so you're able to press it, lock the vehicle, and walk away. Whereas the Highlander, you have to wait for that to close and either press a button on the remote or within the tailgate itself. Let's talk about entering these vehicles. Both have proximity sensors, so you're able to walk up to the vehicle and unlock the doors. Ford has brilliantly put these sensors on both the front as well as the rear doors, making it easier to get kids or whoever else you need to go to the back first without fumbling with the front door. It's a very nice touch. The Ford's rear doors also open wider, allowing easier access to kids or whoever else is going to be back here. Something that we may take for granted, both of these doors, they cover the entire sill, which means as you're getting in or out of the vehicle, you don't have to worry about dirtying your pants. Let's start with the interior volume with the third row. The Explorer has almost 3 inches more headroom and 4.5 inches more legroom back here. I'm actually quite surprised just how comfortable I am comparing to the Highlander. On top of this, it's actually quite easy to get in and out thanks to this handy little button. The Highlander offers 3 seatbelts back here while the Explorer only has 2. But because of this, the seats within the Explorer are definitely wider and more comfortable than within the Highlander. As for the second row, the Explorer does have a little bit more headroom, but the Highlander has a little bit more legroom. Either case, we're splitting hairs here because they're both very comfortable. The Explorer has heated seats, which is a nice touch, and it comes standard with a 6-passenger layout rather than 7. If you would like a second row bench, that's an extra $500 Canadian. Instead of this, we get a low console in here to put whatever we need. If we had the Platinum Highlander, we would get the captain chairs along with heated seats. But because this is only the limited trim, we only have this second row bench. Both of these vehicles offer a 120 volt outlet along with USB plugs. Within the Explorer, there's also USB-C plugs on top of the traditional USB-As, so you're able to plug in all of your devices. Finally, we move to the front seats. The Ford Explorer is certainly larger in here as well, but I find the seats within the Highlander just a bit softer. Both has heated and ventilated options, but the Explorer's passenger seat has adjustable height along with lumbar support on top of the regular fore, aft, and recline option. As for the rest of the interior, well, let's take a look at the Explorer first. We do have some cheaper materials in here, like around the cluster, things are a little bit flimsy. The fake wood, well, it's just really, really fake. As for the infotainment, while I certainly appreciate the NearSync 3 system, it can be a little laggy at times. However, the screen itself is quite clear, resolution is high, and the backlight is bright enough to see even on the sunniest of days. The dedicated media controls are a very nice touch, along with the dedicated climate controls. I do really like the slot underneath the infotainment screen. It's the perfect place for your phone. But this isn't the wireless charger, that's in front of the armrest right in the center. Let's move on to the Highlander. The materials in here are very similar, but there's still some questionable choices, such as this wood grain that's on the center console as well as on the doors. But I must admit, the color combination in here, it's definitely a little bit less boring than the complete black that we find within the Explorer. The infotainment system here works well. It's a basic Toyota system, but it has everything that you need. The screen is a little bit smaller than the highest end Platinum trim, but honestly, I like this better with its buttons that's flanked off to the side. And the climate control, it's just a little bit easier to use as well. Both vehicles have Android Auto as well as Apple CarPlay to connect your devices. Overall, as for the interior, I would say for a family, the Ford actually works a little bit better. The larger rear doors, proximity access, electronic third row, these are just things that make life easier. Not saying the Highlander is bad in any way, but the Ford, well, it's just better. However, in terms of the quality and the feel of the materials, the quality within the Toyota is a little bit better. The plastics just aren't as flimsy and it just feels more sturdy. Let's talk about the powertrain. While both of these are hybrid vehicles, the way that they deliver the power is very, very different. What Toyota has done here is they opted for a 4-cylinder engine, mating that to an electrical motor, as well as a CVT transmission for the front wheels, while a separate electrical motor powers the rear. It gives you a total of 243 horsepower. Torque is unknown as we simply just can't add up all the figures. As for the Explorer, it uses a 3.3-liter V6, pairing that to an electric motor that drives the 10-speed to all 4 wheels. Being that it is a more traditional layout and a much bigger V6, we definitely have more power. 318 horsepower and 322 pound-feet of torque. All this power is driven mostly to the rear wheels first, as the platform is a rear-wheel drive bias system. It allows the Explorer to tow up to 5,000 pounds, 1,500 more than the Highlander, which means I can use the Explorer to tow a car and trailer, while the Highlander, well, maybe a smaller car, but it's really not designed for that. Let's go on the road and go for a drive. Behind the wheel in the Highlander, and well, it drives exactly how you envision like any other car would drive. It's soft, it's cushy, it drives normally, and there's nothing wrong about that, but it definitely lacks character that you may find a little bit more in the Explorer. The engine, yes, it's a 4-cylinder, so the sound from it is not as pleasant, but chances is when you're cruising along like this, well, it's on full electric power. It doesn't need to run that 4-cylinder. And that's definitely a good thing, because I actually get a lot better mileage in here than I get on the Explorer. In terms of safety, both of these vehicles have all the active safety features. So you have radar guided cruise control, lane keep assist, pedestrian warning, like it has everything that you really need. The Highlander doesn't do anything better than the Explorer, and the Explorer doesn't do anything better than this. So I would say in that department, it's basically a tie. Now, let's jump into the Explorer just to see if that's, well, any sportier. Because on paper, it should be. So let's take a look. Alright, driving the Explorer. The first thing you're going to notice is the steering feel. It's not so much the feel as the weight, because it is heavier, but it's not a whole lot more feeling to it. Like, it's not any more connected than the one that's in the Highlander. It's not a bad thing, but it just feels like there's something connected which is something that some people might like. The thing that you're probably most interested about is how does it actually drive? The 3.3 liter V6 that's under the hood, it delivers plenty of power. That electric motor though does not, because that electric motor only puts out 44 horsepower, while the rear motor in the Highlander, just the rear motor, already produces more at 54 horsepower. So yeah, it's definitely not the greatest. And in terms of like overall integration, it's not the best. Toyota has years of development making the Highlander the way that it is, as smooth as it is. It just feels like Ford has tacked on a motor to just a regular internal combustion engine and called it a hybrid. Because when the internal combustion engine kind of like turns off, yes, you definitely feel it. When it turns on, you definitely feel it. When it's able to drive with just the electrical motor and is shifting through the gears, you definitely feel it. There's just a whole lot more mechanical just things that you feel in here. For some, that may be a good thing because it feels like an actual car. It feels like there's something going on. But for others which want like just more seamless technology, the Highlander definitely feels better in that sense. But let's head to the final thoughts and just round everything up nicely here. Overall, while these two vehicles compete in the same segment, their market is quite different. Let's take a look at pricing first. The Explorer comes in at 58,600 Canadian dollars, while the Highlander is a little bit less at 54,150 dollars. But since the Explorer hybrid powertrain can only be equipped with the limited model, it means the base price it's at $55,800, while the Highlander you can step into one for $45,950. The Explorer, well, it's for someone who wants a powerful SUV that can haul their family and tow their camper. It's nice to save a little bit of fuel, but it's definitely not the main concern. The other hand, while the Highlander is for someone that wants to put fuel economy before anything else. With a lower as tested price, it's just easier for families to get into. There's no real winner here. Both of these are great options, but if you're looking for hybrid SUVs, it really comes down to what you're looking for. If it was my money and I need to carry my family with seating for 7, well, I'll probably take a look at a van. But honestly, looking at these two, the Highlander makes more sense as a basic family vehicle.